Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this inked winter scene. We just use two colors, white and almost black, to do all of our details. We use a custom stippling brush that I've included for you to use for all the stippling texture, and then we add a paper texture at the end to really bring it all together. So really fun one today. I love how this turns out. It's really cool. So I hope that you enjoy it. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so that's linked in the description below. If you join over there, you get access to exclusive tutorials every month, along with sneak peeks of what we're drawing over here on YouTube. And if you join now, you get access to all the tutorials that I've posted thus far over about a year and a half's worth, including last fall and winter time. So if you're looking for some drawing to do for the holidays and stuff, I have some already ready to go. But before we get started on today's video, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette, the stippling brush, and the paper texture. They are linked in the description below. They're totally free to download. Just save all the files to your iPad, and then for the color palette, you'll just double tap on it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop the colors into Procreate so you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. Again, it's a white and then a very dark gray, not black. And then for the brush, you'll just go to a canvas, open up your brush library, find whatever folder you want to save it into. Maybe you want to use like a custom folder or an inking folder or something, and then whichever folder you're in, click the plus icon and then click import, and then find the brush file where you saved it, and it'll import so that you can use that when we get to it. And then for the paper texture, just save it to your files, and I will show you how to import it at the end of the video when we get to that step. I'll also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, so this is the color palette that we'll be working with today. A simple white and an almost black. It's not quite black, it's very dark gray. Just so that when we add our paper texture at the end, it makes the black a little bit blacker in those like textured spots. So that being said, let's just go and go ahead and get started. The white color here is our background color. If you need to set it, just go ahead and click on your layer menu, click on your background color layer and set it to the white color to set your background to bright white if it's not already. Then we'll just start on layer 1, and we are going to very simply start with our horizon line. So be on our blackish color, second one on the top row, and let's just go ahead and grab our monoline brush to give us a nice clean, smooth line across to start. So our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab, let's just go ahead and set our size to like 20%. Our opacity is at 100, and I'm just going to draw a nice quick straight line across the canvas, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight, touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. And then I just want it to be basically halfway from top to bottom, so I'm going to grab it with my arrow tool. I'm going to turn snapping on in the bottom left here, and then we can drag it up and down until we hit these two yellow lines that show that we're centered on our canvas. So we want to hit this horizontal one especially. Make sure it's still going off this canvas on both sides. And that is our horizon line. So I think we'll use the monoline brush one more time to make our sun later. But for now, let's go ahead and move on. And we're going to start now with our mountains in the background. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer. Stay on our same color, but let's switch to our studio pen under the inking category. So find that. I'll have my opacity at 100, size, let's do 20. And I'm just going to start with this like frontmost right mountain. So I'm just going to start roughly in the middle right on my horizon line and draw an angled line up and to the right, pretty shallow, to be the top of this next mountain. I held that down so it turned perfectly smooth, and then you can click the line button to adjust it if you need to. I'm going to meet it up with my horizon line nicely. Pretty shallow angle here, and then we'll angle it off the side of the screen. So the line thickness can vary a little bit. That's totally fine. Makes it look more realistic. And so I'm going to start at the same point now and just go off the side of the canvas on the right. And that is my first little mountain there. Then we're going to build from that. So then I'll start just a little ways down this side here and draw upwards to make another point. Hold that down again. Back to my baseline, hold that down. Holding it down each time, click the edit line button if you need to. This one's a little bit higher than my other one. That's good. Okay, then I'll make one more really big one. So off the left side here. So since our sun's going to be in the top right corner, we're going to make the bigger one on the left. So I'll start on this line here. I'll draw up to the peak, hold that down, however high you want it. And then I'll go off the left side of the screen, hold that down. Adjust it if you need to. That looks good. Then lastly, we're going to have one kind of in the background. So I'm just going to start kind of on this line here, up a little bit pretty shallow. Hold that down, down to this other one, pretty shallow. Okay, so those are all of our little mountain peaks in the background. And now we can make some quick lines on them and do our first little bit of stippling as well. So let's start with the lines. I'm just going to go ahead and same brush. I'm going to make some really quick straight lines going in the same direction as our mountain lines. So on this one here, I'll just go like this. And if you draw pretty quick, you'll get some nice, pretty straight ones, or you can hold them down if you would like to, but doing them nice and quick gets us some nice tapering on the ends and makes them pretty straight. So then like same thing here, I'll do some really quick ones. Trying to always just go in that same direction. And then I'll change this way to go this way on the other side. Okay, this one here, I'll just do some like this. And then this one here will have both. Pretty shallow lines there. So just something like that, some fun lines all around. And now we'll do our stippling. Let's go ahead and add that on a new layer just in case we want to adjust it any. So add a new layer on our layer menu. And let's see, we're going to stay with the same color, but switch our brush to the custom stippling brush that you should have downloaded. And opacity is again at 100. Size we'll do like 10%. And we just want to create shadows on these lower parts of the mountains where they meet up either with the ground or the next mountain, but we don't want to draw over the next mountain and have to do a bunch of erasing. So we're going to make selections so that we only draw within the area that we want. So I'm going to grab my selection tool, set it to freehand, make sure color fill is turned off. And I'm going to just kind of outline this little area here. So I'm going to start right at the where this mountain meets the other, tap there, go down the line, tap again to create a nice straight line there. And then I'll kind of just tap around each outline till we get back to the beginning and it all highlights like this. So then you can see this part in the middle is where we're drawing. So then we'll just switch to our pen and now we can draw just within this. So we're going to make the shadows down below here on the lower end of the mountain. So I'm just going to start there, kind of follow the side, follow the bottom, curve a little bit where they change direction. And then we just want it to look a little thicker towards the bottom. So I'm going to go over that a few more times where it's like the darkest here. And then you can even like tap a little bit outside of it to kind of bring the stippling up a little bit higher and like looser so that it continues to get thicker towards the furthest like bottom part. So something like this to start our first mountain. So that's done. I'll click my selection tool to turn that off. We'll stay on the same layer, same color, same brush, and we'll just move to the next mountain. So let's do this big one. So I'm just going to start again at the top, make a dot, go down this line, make a dot, just each line. I'll even go off the edge until we get back to the beginning. Pen tool again, and we will start again. So now I'll do this lower area pretty good all the way across the horizon line there. Again, pretty darn thick there, and then I'll just kind of like lightly bring it up a little bit further so it's a little looser. And then I can even go in and tap a little bit higher on the very edge so it gets a little looser still, making sure to keep going over that very bottom line so it gets the thickest. My selection's a little bit off. There's a tiny gap on the bottom. I'm just going to click my arrow tool so it selects, and then I'm just going to move it down just a smidge so it meets up with that bottom line, and hopefully that didn't mess anything else up too much. But I'd rather have, yeah, I didn't want the gap there, so that looks good. Next one, selection tool, and I'll just select this next mountain here, all through the lines. Back to the beginning. Pen tool again. Same thing, we'll do the bottom, curve up to do next to this other mountain. Nice and thick at the very bottom and where they meet. And then again, just kind of loosely above that, and then tap around a little bit as well. So it loosens up, and then really, really thick. Keep going over that. Okay, beautiful. And then our final one, we're just going to do the bottom. So I'm going to do my selection tool. Same thing though, we're going to still select around the whole mountain, but there's just really the bottom to do. So I'm going to do the base, and my selection got a little off again. I'm going to have to move it again, but that's okay. So I'm just going to do the same thing. Tapping a little bit above it. And then again, I'll grab my arrow tool. I'll just tap it down a few so that it meets up with that line. But now we should have our mountains and a little bit of shadow to them. So that looks great. So that was our first instance of kind of all the same stuff that we're going to do. So we can go ahead and add our moon now. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer, same color. We're going to switch our brush back to our monoline brush first under the calligraphy tab. We're going to make a perfect circle. So just draw a nice circular shape in the sky over here, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Whatever size it ended up at is good. Go ahead and fill it in first. And then we can grab it with our arrow tool on uniform if you want to resize it or move it around at all. A nice good size in the sky here. And now we just want to add some detail lines to it. So we're going to do that with just our white color in our studio pen. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, add a new layer. Grab our white color, first one on the first row, switch back to our studio pen, same setting as before. 20% for our size. And we're going to turn on our 2D assisted drawing so that we can get some perfectly straight horizontal lines. So under the gear icon, under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, and then click edit drawing guide, and you'll see this 2D grid pop up. So that's the one that we want to stay on. We don't need to worry about the grid size itself. We're not going to actually use the lines. So I'm going to drag the opacity down a little bit so I don't see it so harshly. And then I'm going to make sure to turn assisted drawing on. That's the most important part. Go ahead and click done. Now on our layer menu, we want this layer that we're on to say assisted. It does, but if it doesn't, just click on it and turn on drawing assist. And now we have our horizontal lines. So once we start drawing, I'm just going to start outside the circle, draw in and kind of let it up, and then it kind of tapers off. So I always start outside and then draw in to let it kind of taper off there like so. Might even extend a few of them like this, so we get a few good streaks through it. That's really all that we're doing for our moon, or our sun, whichever one you want it to be. So now we can move on to our river. We're going to get that in place first so that we can draw our trees and grass and rocks around it. And then we can kind of finish everything off. So we're really getting there. Good start. Let's go ahead and on our layer menu, add a new layer. Grab our blackish color again, and we can stay on our studio pen. So we're going to just kind of start to make the river. So I'm going to start just kind of back here, and it's going to start pretty skinny. So I might just start on like one side, and I'm just going to start again on the horizon line, come in pretty sharp, turn back out, pretty sharp, in again, out a little further, back in pretty sharp, and then out a little further still. And then maybe we come in and go off the bottom, something like that. And then we'll do a similar thing on the other side. So this is kind of what I have for now. Okay, so I'm being really, really sketchy with it, and then we can kind of adjust it, and we'll just use this as like a sketch layer. So this one I might want to be a little bit wider. This one I might want to be a little bit wider as well. So we just want it to kind of wiggle back and forth, definitely like wider at the bottom here so that it looks nice and wide, and then skinnier at the top. So do any kind of adjusting that you need to on this layer, and then we'll use it to make our next layer, which will be our actual layer. Okay, so that looks good to start. I'm going to go to my layer menu, click the N on this layer, and lower the opacity to like 20%, and then add a new layer above it. And now we'll actually draw it nice and smooth this time. So I'll just use that as a guide, and I'll do one nice smooth continuous line. It's easy to just draw really light and kind of fast, and then just do it a few times if you need to. That looks good. The quicker you draw, the smoother it is. So just kind of get something good. And then we're still going to kind of clean up some of the angles and stuff here. So just get something you like, nice and smooth. And then we can connect it across the top so that we can fill it in right where that horizon line is. So then fill that whole thing in. That looks great. Okay, layer menu, let's delete our little sketch layer that we had previously. Just get rid of that. And then add a layer above our river layer and grab our bright white color, first one on the top row. And now we're going to kind of sharpen some of these angles up so it looks a little bit flatter and like there's some snowbanks and stuff. So we're essentially going to start on kind of like the lower sides where it curves out. So where it curves out here and comes back in, we're going to make the lower side really sharp by kind of where this white area is. We'll kind of follow that up and then kind of bring it off so that it makes like kind of a point right there, like so. And we're going to do that to each little curve. So I'll do this one too. Kind of trying to make it like a little more horizontal. So bringing it like in a little further if I need to, so it can be a little flatter. Okay. Okay, same thing here. Just kind of nice and flat. Cover all this up so it goes away. Okay, and again, we're just doing the lower sides where it goes out for now. So then this one, same thing. Right in there. Cover all that up. Right in there, not that high up. More so like this. Same thing with all these little ones up top. Cut them off nicely if you can. Okay, and then that looks pretty good for our river. So those are like our little snowbanks. It looks a little bit more horizontal, nice and wide at the bottom. Now we're going to add some texture through the river. So then just on the same layer, same color, we're going to go in with our stippling brush now again. So go back to that. And we're actually going to increase our size a little bit to maybe like 15%. And I'm just going to go through the middle, kind of back and forth like horizontally, and we'll start kind of building this up. So just not touching the edges, not touching the horizon line. Just kind of right through the middle here. And then we'll just kind of keep on going with it. It's going to take a little bit to get it covered, but we want it to get kind of thinner. The white part, we want to get kind of thinner on the edges. So I'm just kind of doing a good amount of this through the middle. Not all the way to the edge, but close-ish. Here and there. All the way to the bottom. Okay, then once we have like one good layer down like this, we're going to go through and just really highlight some sections. So I'm just going to pick a few sections to just really go in and just make really, really bright, really just close towards the middle. So I'm just going to kind of go really, really good here, working horizontally always. So just a really, really bright section there. And then maybe we'll do another really bright section up in this little bigger part. Kind of through this little area here a little bit. Maybe some back here as well. Make sure to get that nice and good. But we just want some good variation going on, so some brighter areas, some not so much. So that looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and place our trees now before we do anything else. So again, we're going to make kind of like a guide, just like we did for our river. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Let's grab our dark black color again and our studio pen again. So this is going to be kind of our guide layer first. So I'm going to start towards the left side here, pretty high up, like as tall as my mountain. This is going to be one big tree on the left side here. So I'm going to start right here, draw a good vertical line till we get somewhere in the snow here. Hold it down until it turns perfectly straight. Touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Then we're going to start from the top and draw a line down to the right side until it gets nice and smooth. Hold it down until it's nice and straight, and then touch your finger to the screen to find this angle. So it's just one from vertical. So this is vertical. If you just go to the right, it'll snap over here. Kind of same length at the bottom, doesn't really matter. Same thing on the other side, another angled line off the canvas if yours goes that way. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen till it hits that first angle to the left. And that's the guide for our big tree. Now I'll do maybe a few kind of medium trees here-ish. So maybe I'll start like right here till we hit like a further back piece in the snow. Nice vertical line to start. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. We might do 3, so I might do a little shorter one. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Another maybe shorter one, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. So I have my 3 vertical lines here, and then I'm going to draw my angled ones next to them. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to hit this other angle. Okay. And if they overlap these ones, that's okay. They're kind of in little clusters. Again, pretty messy, just a guide. So that looks good there. And then maybe I'll do 2 really small ones back here in this open space, or just kind of do whatever you want to do. So I'll do some pretty small ones here, way in the back with the bottoms hitting way towards the horizon line. But same angles every time. Okay, so I did that one. I'll do another shorter one next to it. Okay, so just kind of get those where you want them. I think that looks pretty good. So now we'll go to our layer menu, click the N on this layer, lower the opacity again to like 20% and add a new layer above it. And this is where we'll actually draw the trees. So for each one, we're going to kind of do the same thing. We're going to start at the top of our little guide here, and we're going to kind of curve to the right till we hit that line, curve back in towards the middle, curve out, curve back in. Not all the way to the middle. You know, we want the middle to kind of start getting thicker, but we want to just curve in a little bit each time, curve back out to the line, curve back out to the line in a little bit so it starts getting further away from my middle line. You can do some long, some short, so they're all a little bit different. Always making sure that they connect really well. Sometimes I pick up my brush and then they kind of lose their connection. We want them all to connect. And then at the bottom here, we're actually just going to connect in a straight line because we're going to cover the bottom with snow. So I'm just going to leave that for now, but I'll start on the other side at the top. Curve to the line, curve back in, some longer, some shorter, till we're kind of off the screen on this one. If yours doesn't go off the screen, just go all the way to the bottom. And I'm just going to create a straight line off the bottom or across off the screen. So now we should have a whole shape that's filled in or that's connected that we can fill in like so. Feel free to touch up any of your little branches with your pen or your eraser or anything. Like the top here, I might use my eraser, which I have set to the monoline brush. And I might kind of make the point a little bit better at the top. Something like that. Okay, same layer, we're going to do the other trees as well. So I'm just going to start over here with my next one. So these ones are a lot smaller. If you need to adjust your brush size as you go ahead and do so. I might drop to 10%. And yeah, we'll just kind of same thing, even though they're a little bit smaller, just do the same thing that we did before. And they don't have to be like identical side to side. I don't really want that actually. I want them to be a little bit different. And again, we'll just kind of connect across the bottom because we'll cover that up. So go ahead and fill that in. Hopefully everything connected. If you ever need to, you can turn off your other layers in the background if you're having a hard time seeing where your lines are. Feel free to do that, but make sure we're still on our top layer here to finish our trees. This one kind of as it gets here, I might kind of, just lose the bottom of it. That's okay. Kind of goes behind my other tree there. So I'll just draw until I'm done, and then I'll connect again and fill this in. Okay, last tree on this one. And fill that in. Touch up any of your little branches and stuff. But that looks good there. And then our last little tiny baby trees in the back. We'll just do, your guidelines might be like huge compared to the lines that you're actually making. So just kind of do your best to mimic the same shapes that we've been making thus far. Okay, so there are all of my trees. So now let's go ahead and just get rid of our little guide layer that we created. I'll just delete that from my layer menu. Then we'll add a new layer above our trees, and this is where we'll add our snow at the bottom and some stippling to the trees themselves. So we'll be on our new layer, switch to our white color, same studio pen for now, and we'll kind of make the snow banks under our trees. I'm going to increase my brush size to 20. I'll curve upwards at the bottom here to just kind of cover up that bottom in a curved line so it looks like snow. Beautiful. Same thing over here. I might kind of do like 2, so I might curve up here and then curve up the other way a little bit. Kind of try to cover up any weirdness or any gaps or anything. Okay, and then same thing back here. I'll just do a quick little kind of wavy line at the bottom there to look like snow. Same layer, same color. We're just going to switch to our stippling brush again. Find that. I'll set the size to 10%, pretty low. And we're just going to do a little bit of stippling here on the trees to kind of give them some highlights and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of go in like the direction that the branches would kind of go. Just a few little sections. Like so, just kind of throughout the tree. So the ones in the middle kind of more straight down. And as we get out, we kind of angle a little bit more. Something like that. Go ahead and thicken some of them up or add some kind of just smattering of dots around as well. I might just tap around here and there to give some more dimension and things like that. Beautiful. Okay, other trees will do kind of the same thing. This size might work. We might lower it a little bit. Let's do like 5% back here, but just kind of same idea. A lot smaller, obviously, so we won't see quite as much. But just some good kind of directional little sections. And then maybe just some tapping around as well when you're done with that. Okay, beautiful. And our last one's back here, tiny, tiny, tiny. I might lower my size to like 3%. And even that we'll kind of lose a lot of the definition, but that's okay. So you can even just kind of tap around on these here and there, kind of whatever works. Just something like that in the distance. So that looks great for my trees. That was a huge part of the drawing. The rest of this is going to be super duper easy. We're almost done. So we're just going to add some rocks, a little bit of grass, and some snow to the sky. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer. And we're going to stay on our white color to start with our rocks. And we're going to grab our studio pen under the inking category. Let's go ahead and make some rocks in the river first. So our studio pen I have at 20%. I'm going to start with a horizontal line on the bottom. So I'm just going to make a quick horizontal line, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen. And then off of that, we'll just kind of make a little rock shape. So a little wiggly line, fill that in. I'll do a few of those, especially in the front here of like varying kind of shapes and sizes. So maybe a couple there, maybe one over here. Maybe another one over here. Okay, and then maybe I'll do a smaller one back here, same thing. And maybe a small one here, and then maybe we don't see any more past that. So just a few through the river, and then same layer, we're just going to switch our color to the black color, and we'll do some outside the river now. So I'll start over here, make another horizontal line, always kind of bigger when they're closer to the bottom, but they can still vary, in size. We don't want them all to be the same size. Like I'll do another small one here, but nothing bigger than this would be further back. Okay. Maybe I'll do some over here. And again, maybe a pretty small one back here. And then maybe that's our last little rock there. Okay, so those look good. I'll leave those as is. And then same layer, same pen. We'll do some grass. So the grass is going to be very dependent on how hard you push. So depending on how hard and light you can push, you can use the same size or change your size. But we're just going to draw some little sprigs of grass through the area like so. Again, closer to us, a little bit bigger and thicker. Further away, they're going to get a little smaller and thinner. So either push lighter or adjust your size if you need to. But yeah, we'll do some really tiny ones and then kind of build up a little bit. We can do some like in front of these snowbanks, in front of the trees, and whatever works. Good variety of that. And then that is it for our ground at the bottom. So lastly is our snow in the sky. We wanted everything in place before we did this. Same layer, same color, same brush. We're just going to up the size to like maybe 50% so we can make some bigger pieces. So if you push pretty hard and kind of hold down, you'll get a nice big snowflake or snowdrop. And then if you just tap the screen or push just gently, you'll get some kind of varying sizes. So we want some varying sizes in front of the mountains, in the sky, nothing on the ground or over the trees. Just the sky and the mountains. So something like that. Do a good amount of that, however much you would like. And then that is it for that. So you can absolutely leave your picture like this to add the paper texture, but I think it's fun to just downsize the whole thing a little so we get a little bit of a border around it. So if you want the border, I'm going to go to my layer menu. I'm going to select all my layers. So select one, slide right on all the others to select them also. Grab it with my arrow tool on uniform. I'll downsize the whole thing a little bit and then recenter it. So where we see our center yellow lines, and resize it anymore if you need to, depending on how big of like an edge that you want. So I think that looks good. I'm going to go to my gear icon and turn my drawing guide off so that I don't have to look at that anymore. That helps really just bring it into focus a little bit better. And then we'll add our paper texture. So on our layer menu, add a new layer to the very top. Go to your gear icon, click add and click insert a file. find the file where you downloaded it. If you need to, you can probably just search paper and it will hopefully be found. Paper texture, import that. It's a rectangle. So I'm going to leave it on uniform, zoom out so that I can get the edges. So I'll increase the size till it covers the whole canvas. And now it covered up our beautiful picture. But we'll go to our layer menu, click the N on this layer. That sets our layer style, and we'll drag it up to linear burn. And then drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe 70 to 80%, somewhere in there, so it's not so crazy looking. But that helps make our blacks blacker, but also we can still see all of our texture and all of our details. So that looks amazing. That is the end of our drawing today, our inked winter scene. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out, and I hope that you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up on YouTube. That really helps on my channel and helps show this video to more people so that they can follow along also. And then if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.